Whether you guys bought an HC320, a 320 flat, or a 320XL from Herrington Arms, this video is going to be great for you. We're going to go over how to install it, uninstall it, and then some FAQs that we've got over the last couple years. All three compensators are going to be the exact same install and uninstall process, so whether you have one or the other, stick around because the process is going to be the exact same. So before we get into the install of this compensator, what is the purpose of the HC320 series? And this is going to be a model-specific compensator for the SIG P320. This is going to work on the X Compact, X Carry, X Full, and even the Flux Raider. So these compensators are going to work on pretty much any 320 you have, but there's going to be some things you need to keep in mind. With the 3-port design of the HC320 and the 320 flat, you're going to have one large top port to reduce that muzzle flip, and two large side ports to reduce the linear and the hand felt recoil. However, with the HC320XL, you are only going to get top ports. So this is going to be better for competition setups that have a very heavy aluminum frame, or the Flux Raider, where you don't want any of those gases coming out the side right next to your thumb. Some of the things you're going to need before you start the install or uninstall of this setup is going to be Loctite. We recommend you pick this up at Herrington Arms or any of the local stores that have it. This is blue Loctite 243. Any blue Loctite will work. You really don't want to use red Loctite because that is going to be a permanent solution. You would have to add a lot of heat to break the compensator free from the barrel, and you would have a hard time with the set screws. So we don't recommend red Loctite. Another thing I like to have on hand is a paper towel or rag. This is going to help you clean up during the process. If you are uninstalling, I would definitely recommend you have a set of wire brushes to clean the Loctite off of your barrel and in your compensator, and potentially even having a spare set of set screws. If you have removed your compensator a handful of times, we recommend a new set of set screws. Sometimes with set screws, it will deform the nose of the set screw and not hold as tight. So we recommend a new set every once in a while. Other than that, some things to keep in mind is you are going to need a threaded barrel for all of these compensators. So before you buy this compensator, make sure you get a threaded barrel or get one at the same time. We also sell those on Herrington Arms if you're interested. True Precision makes a really great barrel. One thing to keep in mind with the HC320 lineup is there are different use cases. You can see we have an X Compact on an X Full slide here with the 320 flat. The HC320 would angle down and not have that perfect flush fit. And then the 320XL would also angle down and not be perfectly flush. So when you're picking out one of your Herrington Arms compensators, make sure you find out which one you want for your setup. And if you can't pick out which one you want, go ahead and contact customer support at support@herringtonarms.com. So you can see here we have the missing compensator in this build. So first thing you're going to do is obviously check it's clear, uninstall the handgun completely except for the barrel. So now the only thing that you have left in the slide is the barrel. You should have already cleaned these threads with a degreaser, get them good and clean, along with the set screws. These set screws come with a little bit of oil residue on them as a rust preventative. So you're going to want to make sure those are good and clean. First thing we're going to do is open up the Loctite. You can buy this at Herrington Arms, Home Depot, pretty much anywhere. Make sure you use 243 blue Loctite. Do not use red Loctite. And we're going to apply a little bit to the barrel threads. You don't want to go overboard here and add too much. That is probably plenty. And then we're going to thread on the compensator. So you can see I have the barrel hood locked in place here. We're going to thread this until it stops. You can see it stops at a really weird spot, but we can back it off just a little bit. So maybe a half rotation. Now I can see light between the compensator and the slide. This is very important. The reason it is important to have light shining between the compensator and slide is because this slide actually drops down at an angle and the top of the compensator can hit the top of the slide. So you're going to want to make sure that this will function properly. As long as this clicks in and out fine, you know you have enough clearance. You can see the next step here is to add your guide rod. Make sure that you have the flats parallel to the edge of the slide. If you rotate so that the flats are like this and that they are parallel with the bottom of the slide, you are going to have a lot of issues. The flats are there for clearance, so make sure you put them up and down with the slide. Now this barrel's not going to come out, it's locked in place. The Loctite is already curing a little bit, so you can see it's stiffening up. Again, plenty of clearance. I can see light between everything, so it's going to be fine. You do not want to add a lot of Loctite to these set screws because it's just going to end up getting squished out the top. And you also want these set screws to be able to come out in the future, so you don't want to set them in there with a lot of Loctite. So just a dab on each side. I'm going to thread this in with the long side until it stops, and then I'm going to wipe off the excess Loctite. This is just to keep the area nice and clean, and we're going to come back to it once we actually tighten it. So now we're going to go to the other side. Make sure that the set screw has no grease on it or oil, and add some Loctite. just about a drop, and then thread this in same way as you did the last time until it stops. Clean up any excess Loctite. So now I like to pinch the dust cover / guide rod area. The compensators almost always match up here, so you can get a really good idea of how to orient the compensator properly. So I like to pinch there and then start tightening with the short end of the Allen key. And you're gonna wanna bounce back and forth. And the reason you wanna do that, you're tightening the set screw onto a tangent point of a barrel, which is gonna pitch the compensator left to right. So you don't wanna go crazy here. Just bounce back and forth, kind of like you would tightening down lug nuts on a car. Bounce back and forth. Make sure that this stays in the right spot. It might rotate a little bit. If that happens, just loosen all the set screws and start over. And you're not gonna wanna over tighten this. Just keep going until it feels like both sides are snug. We do recommend that you use the provided Allen key with this. We've seen a lot of customers snap off bits in their own custom setup, trying to use a torque wrench. We recommend you just use this. You're not gonna wanna over tighten this to the point where you're bending or stripping out the Allen key. The Loctite is gonna be helping out a lot with keeping this secure. If you're set on using a torque wrench, we recommend 12 to 14 inch-pounds, and that should be appropriate for the set screws on this compensator. So now that you have your compensator installed, make sure everything looks right, go ahead and make sure that barrel can move freely. Then we're going to install it back in the gun and do a check, a function check on the gun. Gun seems to be working properly. So now we know we did the install correctly. Again, this will work for the 320, 320 flat, or the 320XL. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the uninstall of this HC320 flat setup. Again, this will work with all three compensators. First thing you're gonna do is clear the gun, make sure it's good to go, and then we can start the teardown process of this SIG P320. You can remove the guide rod. Depending on how much Loctite is on here, you may have a hard time getting this compensator off. You can feel there's a little bit of stiffness in the set screws. One thing you're gonna wanna make sure you do is remove these set screws all the way before you continue. You can usually get away with backing them out partially. To further reduce any potential damage that could be done, you might wanna remove them all the way just so that the set screws don't gouge any barrel threads. Now we're going to take our paper towel and put it on the compensator and twist and break that Loctite free. So you can see we're able to do that. If this doesn't want to spin free and the Loctite is really cured or you put too much Loctite on, you can pull the barrel forward, take a lighter and heat up just the barrel to get that Loctite to loosen up. I would only recommend using a lighter or a little propane torch. I don't recommend using a big torch, obviously, because you would have a lot of issues. But keep in mind, you really don't need that much heat to break up blue Loctite. Heat is usually used if you have to break up red Loctite. It's not gonna take much heat to get this blue Loctite to break free, and then you can spin the compensator off. So now that this is broke free, we can just spin this off. There's probably gonna be a little bit of Loctite residue on the threads or the compensator. So it looks like it predominantly stayed on the compensator, not on the barrel threads. But when you go to reinstall this, you're going to wanna wire brush these threads and clean them with a Dawn dish soap or some sort of degreaser. A rag will simply not do. You can see we got a lot of carbon off of the barrel threads, but that's not gonna be good enough. You're gonna wanna deep clean this before you reapply blue Loctite and thread on that compensator. Another note before you reinstall any of these products, again, if you want, you can buy new set screws. It's not necessary if this is your first or second time removing the compensator, and then take a wire brush, a toothbrush, some sort of brush with some degreaser in these threads and clean out the barrel threads, because there's gonna be blue Loctite in there that will stop the new Loctite from curing all the way. Last note on disassembly, you do not have to remove your compensator to clean your handgun. A lot of people think that you really can't clean your barrel with your compensator in place, and that's true, but if you remove your guide rod, you can pull your barrel forward, and now you have access to cleaning the entire barrel, the barrel hood, any of these internal features, and you really don't need to pull the compensator off. We get this all the time where people pull the compensator off every 200 rounds and deep clean their gun. You do not have to do that. However, we do recommend cleaning just the ports of the compensator. If you're running reman ammo or really cheap ammo, you can get a lot of lead buildup. Usually it's not carbon, it's usually lead, which you can typically scrape out with a small flathead screwdriver. We're gonna be doing a whole entire separate video on how to clean a compensator, so subscribe to the Warehouse channel for more information on that. Will this compensator make my handgun unreliable? This has been a common question for all of the 320 lineups. To put it simply, we have done a lot of testing with all of these compensators, and when we designed this compensator, we put reliability at the forefront of the importance. We were willing to sacrifice some of the effectiveness of the compensator to be reliable with almost every ammo we could find. At the time of producing this compensator, we did a 4,000 round reliability test with a magnitude of different ammunition. One thing we found is custom slides provided from any of the aftermarket suppliers can have issues. And the reason that is because the slides are typically Cerakoted. What we found to be a fix is simply get it past that 300 to 500 round break-in period. That usually solves everything. And if you're still having issues, typically a Herrington Arms spring kit or a DPM spring kit will fix some of that issue. This is very rare, and we typically never see reliability issues with this compensator. It's worth being noted, if you have a really finicky gun with a really out-of-spec slide, you might be able to fix it with a spring kit, but all of the compensators we have released has been focused on reliability, and we've done a lot of testing with Cerakoted slides, with different grains of ammo. And after all that testing, we always found that the compensators were reliable. Another question we get all the time is, which HC320 should I buy? The 320 3-port, the 320 flat, or the 320 XL? Again, this kind of comes down to what you're building. If you are building an X compact slide on an X full frame, you're gonna want that flat compensator. It's just gonna look a lot cleaner. However, if you're running an X carry or an X compact slide on its standard frame, so there's no integration, an HC320 is going to be the best for you. It's going to give a more aggressive look, it's going to reduce some of that size, and it's still going to give you all the benefits of the 3 ports. And on the inverse of that, if you're going for a little bit longer setup and you're focused solely on muzzle flip and you're not worried about that linear recoil, an HC320XL is going to be the ticket for you because that's all it focuses on. Another common setup we see for the 320XL is going to be a Flux Raider chassis. It's going to divert all those gases up away from the shooter. You're not going to have any gases going out the sides, and it's just going to make it a lot better experience shooting the Flux. Last question we're going to answer today is, how do I get an integrated setup? What barrel length do I need? So we see this all the time. It seems to be a huge pain point of confusion. So to do the flushest integration, you can use an X compact slide with an X compact threaded barrel. You can buy OEM SIG, you can buy True Precision, you can buy anyone who makes an X compact threaded barrel. With the threads, this comes out to be 4.3 inches long. This is incredibly confusing. SIG has all of the same naming structure, so it can be a lot to understand. What you need to know is you need to buy a threaded barrel and a guide rod assembly that matches your slide. This slide will simply drop on any frame, whether it's an X full frame, an X carry frame, or an X compact frame. This slide setup will work. The way this FCU is designed, you can do any setup you want and there's no limitations. That's one of the reasons why we like the 365 and the 320 so much. Obviously, we know you guys are gonna have more than just 3 questions, so if you have any more questions, drop a comment down below, or if you want a direct answer, go ahead and reach out to support@herringtonarms.com. If you guys wanna join a community, we have recently started a Discord talking about SIG builds, talking about all of these questions. So if you guys are interested, we will have a link down below. If you guys like this video, if you learned something, we'd appreciate a like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.